How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Some idea.
I am not completely like other people.
What do you mean by that?
People dislike me because I am not completely like them. I am trying to do with my life something which few people try to do, and this influences my thinking and consequently my action.
What is it you're trying to do with your life?
Play the piano for people.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.
this the end? There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final
Who the fuck is Karlyn? She's just some sweet lady. She's like in a knitting. She does like a knitting stream. She's like a knitting YouTuber. She does knitting.
Can we grow up a little bit and
Alt
not
Girl
be
sent $200.
retarded?
Have you seen the
Please.
work of Karlyn Borysenko? Anti-commie cult leader and is obsessed with looking at what actual far-left communists are talking about and organizing today, infiltrating them. They infiltrated the universities, schools, media. She has the receipts to back it up. Primary source evidence. Infestation is dire and she calls Republicans idiots eating slop. Agree.
Thank you for the big super chat. Yeah, oh, I know Karlyn B. She's solid. She's funny. I
The
like
great
her.
noticer sent $200.
Literally.
So
not
it's,
Ian.
it's not because
Yeah.
I haven't dangled my junk into the combat zone on purpose to get some camera footage, but that's the big part of what's the
Is that
problem.
what you call reporting?
Go
and live
under, if
streaming?
you're going to do it,
Yeah,
go
seriously.
undercover. Otherwise you're wearing a hunk of meat in a lion's den. Nick Shirley, I love you. Take care of yourself, man. Karlyn Borysenko went undercover. Do stuff like that. Like if you want to expose this thing, don't pariah,
But
please.
Ian, here's and I agree with you to an extent.
What's up, everyone? What's up? What's up? What's up? Happy Thursday. What's going on, guys? Has anything been happening in the world? Anything at all? You know, we need to start out. Actually, let's start out with thanking some channel memberships. Hans, 10 gifted channel memberships right off the top. W's in the chat for Hans. We got W's for Dorfus gifting a channel membership. We're welcoming Mike onto the channel. Welcome to the cult, bro. Your life is over. You're never going to see the world the same way again. You're never leaving, but you'll have friends during the Marxist Revolution. And so that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Starting us off strong with 12 gifted channel memberships already today. But can we start with some breaking news? Can we start with some breaking news? Yeah, get the memberships rolling. Let's just hit the goal like right off the bat, and then I don't have to ask you guys for the whole rest of the stream. And we're doing 2 streams today. There's 2 streams today. So not just one, there is actually 2, but that's okay. We'll talk about that in a second. Thank you for being a member of the channel. It's Mr. Doctor. I appreciate it. Can we start with some breaking news? Breaking news. My husband is becoming a US citizen tomorrow. Hey, no big deal. I've only been married to the man for almost 15 years. He wasn't allowed to work for 4 of those years. 4 fucking years. I had to earn all the money in the household because my husband wasn't allowed to work because of the green card process takes so damn long. And then my husband got his green card, and then he kind of got a little lazy about it. He's like, I'll become a citizen someday. And I'm like, okay, Victor, it's your time, it's your schedule, whatever. I never badgered him about it. And then he said to me later last year, he's like, Karlyn, I should probably become a citizen. I was like, all right, Victor. And he went and he got himself an immigration lawyer, and they did all this stuff. And he went to do his immigration interview and all this stuff. And I got to tell you guys, after my husband is sworn in as a U.S. citizen tomorrow, I'm going to show you guys the tests that they give potential U.S. citizens, and you guys are going to be shocked at how stupid it is. W's in the chat for my husband. Becoming the man has only lived here for 20 fucking years. And you know what's funny about this too? Do you know what's funny about it? He almost missed the naturalization ceremony because Victor and I both universally ignore every single piece of mail that gets delivered to our house. Does anyone else have this problem? For every one piece of valid mail that gets delivered to the house, there are like 30 pieces of junk mail. And my mail lady hates me because I will literally leave the mail in the mailbox until the mailbox is like full. And I'm just like, I never get any mail that actually matters. So Victor said to me this morning, he's like, Karlyn, have you checked the mail lately? And I was like, nah, not really. He's like, maybe you can check it because maybe I'm waiting to hear about my citizenship thing. And I said, oh shit, Victor. Yeah, you're probably right. I probably should check the mail. Victor wasn't checking the mail because he thought he was going to get a call from his lawyer, which he didn't get. And I wasn't checking the mail because I don't want to go through 30 pieces of junk mail for every fucking one piece of valid mail that I get. So I checked the mail today, and lo and behold, there was the letter from the immigration services, and lo and behold, his naturalization ceremony is scheduled for tomorrow at 9 a.m. So we were cutting it close. We opened the mail the day before the naturalization ceremony. They sent it like a week and a half ago, but because we ignored the mail, we just didn't see it. So that's pretty awesome. We tempted fate on that one, but you know what? Victor's thrilled. He has the day off from work anyway. Cynthia in with the $50 for Victor's celebration. We know we love him, hon. Your Arizona grad. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Thank you so much. Yeah. Do you know how you guys know how much I love my husband? I am going to get up before noon tomorrow to go to his naturalization ceremony. You guys don't understand. I don't get out of bed before noon. I work until like 3 or 4 in the morning. This is my schedule. I work until 3 or 4 in the morning, and then I go to sleep, and I usually end up waking up around 8 a.m., and then I stay up for half an hour, and then I go back to sleep, and then somewhere around noon, I get up and I actually start functioning like a human being, and I have coffee and all that stuff. I have to get up tomorrow at 7 a.m. and actually stay awake. This is how much I love my husband, that I'm getting up early to go to his citizenship ceremony tomorrow. But it's awesome. I'm really excited about it. My husband is really excited about it. It's been a long time coming. My husband's had to deal with a lot of bullshit because of this thing I do online. People have defamed my husband. They've smeared my husband. They've spread horrible lies about my husband that have no basis in reality at all. And he's just along for the ride. My husband isn't even a public person on the internet. He's been on my stream like one time. He doesn't like being a public person on the internet. And so my husband has had to deal with so much bullshit. People have tried to. Fun fact, did you guys know the group of people that was gang stalking me for years, they literally tried to get my husband to divorce me. I swear to God, this is the level of bullshit that we have had to deal with on the internet, where I had a group of retards who are all allegedly on the right. This did not come from the left. This came from the right. Gang stalking me and my husband to try to get him to divorce me. Fun fact. Hey, Mitchell, thank you so much. Happy for you and Victor. Much love. Really appreciate it, bro. So they failed. Obviously, there was no divorce. My husband and I are happier than ever. We still even have sex in our marriage, which is pretty rad. And so he's becoming a U.S. citizen tomorrow, and there ain't shit the haters on the internet can do about it. And so that's awesome. That's awesome. So really excited about that. Also, breaking news. I was right. I just need everyone to reflect on the fact that I was right. And I need you all to remember this because a couple weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, I tweeted, I said, I'm sorry, but Tom Homan looks like a stuttering, weak old man. He's not going to solve any problems. The Trump administration only projects weakness, not strength. And of course, I got a whole bunch of blowback from conservatives saying, no, Karlyn, Tom Homan is going to fix everything. Everyone's going to be afraid of the big bad Tom Homan. And so I said, remember I told you Tom Homan was not going to fix this problem and things were only going to get worse. Bookmark this and come back to it in a month or two. Well, it didn't even take 2 months. It took 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Because today, Tom Homan announced, hey guys, we're done in Minneapolis. We're leaving. We're done here. Nothing to see here. We got all the illegals. Of course, they didn't get all the illegals. They just got a very small portion of the illegals and then let everyone else stay because the left completely chased the Trump administration out of Minneapolis. This is entirely because of leftist organizing and activism, and everyone fucking knows it. Nick Fuentes tweeted earlier today, Tom Homan just officially announced the full withdrawal of ICE from Minneapolis. This is nothing short of a complete and total surrender to the radical left agitators. Trump has sent the message that rioting, stalking, and attacking ICE agents works. And of course, Nick Fuentes, because he is a very smart, precocious young man, is absolutely correct about this. This is only going to embolden the far left. They're only going to get worse after this. And, you know, who could have, Reagan, who could have seen this coming? Who could have seen this coming about 1,000 miles away? So we have a rule on this channel, guys. If you doubt me and you say, no, Karlyn, I know you're right about so many things, but you're wrong this time. If you doubt me, and then I turn out to be correct about every single thing that I said, you owe me $2. That is the rule on the channel. I expect to see a bunch of if people are being intellectually honest, I expect to see a $2 super chat from like every single person who fucking doubted me. Yeah. Dragontail didn't even doubt me. Dragontail didn't doubt me at all. He's still doing a $2 Karlyn was right super chat. So if I was right and you were wrong, you owe me $2. That is the rule on the channel, and I don't want to hear any whining or complaining. It's just $2. Follow the honor system, you assholes. I got raked over the coals for saying this, and I want my comeuppance, and I want my validation, all right? I tried to tell you. You didn't listen, and it turns out I was right again. So there's that. Hey, you guys want some more breaking news? There's another. Oh, yup. We got 50715 over on Rumble says he was iffy, but he sent in his $2 super chat because I was right. Pay up. Yup. Got to put the chat on the screen. There we go. Now you guys can see yourself talk. Hey, you guys want some more breaking news? Guess who invited me on their show? No, it's not Joe Rogan. I'll give you a hint. It's not Joe Rogan yet. Guess who invited me on their show? Does anyone want to take a guess at who invited me on their show? Oh, look at that. We got some $2. She was right. Breaking news. Yep, I was right. Yep. Thank you, Ben Shaw, for the super sticker. Trendlin. Maybe if we have time, Trendlin. Maybe not on the first stream, but maybe for the second stream. Maybe if we meet the goal and we have time. Maybe. Not Duncan. Nope. Owen's coming on. Owen is going to be on here next week, next Thursday. So Owen's coming over here. Nope. Wasn't Tim Pool. No, not Duncan. No, not Bridget. No. I would never go on Tim Pool's show anyway. You know who invited me on his show? Dr. Drew, no big deal. He only has 2 million followers on Twitter. And actually, fun fact, and I bet you he doesn't even remember this, I've met Dr. Drew. I met Dr. Drew at Dave Rubin's house like 4 fucking years ago or something like that. And he's a super nice guy, honestly. And so he followed me on Twitter today and I DM'd him and I was like, Dr. Drew, I'd really like to talk to you. And he's like, I'd really like to talk to you too. Come on my show. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to make that happen. So yeah, no big deal. Breaking news. I don't know when that's going to happen, but you know, we're working out a date, I guess. I'm in touch with his producer and that's pretty rad. So that's cool. But do you know the biggest breaking news of all? Do you guys want to know where I feel like I have outdone myself with the help of a community member? The Denver Communists. The Denver Communists. The Denver Communists. So, we, of course, were watching the Denver Communists the other day on the channel. And when we were watching the Denver Communists the other day on the channel, I started just looking into what are the Denver Communists up to lately? What are they up to? And I found this Facebook post, ICE and the Trump regime, the war at home, the war abroad. Meeting Wednesday, February 11th with a Zoom link. Huh. Yo, thanks, Casmar, for the ongoing support, for being a member of the channel for 37 months. Really appreciate it. Now, the Denver Communists are publicly posting a Zoom link to their private meeting where they're talking about ICE and the Trump administration. This presents a little bit of a problem because I have filmed the Denver Communist private meetings before, and they tend to be a very small group. They all know each other. Everyone has their cameras on. And so I was like, how can I get access to that meeting? Because I don't think I can actually be the one filming it. I think I have to do a little backhanded stuff. Sith, thanks for the $5. Congrats on getting a spot on Dr. Drew. Thank you, Sith. I appreciate it. So I had to backhand that shit, right? I had to come up with a way. Also, we have to get around Stacy being a fucking bitch and ratting me out every time I try to do something. So I happen to have a community of people who've been following my work for years. And one of those people has actually done so much, and I have to be very vague about who it is, but they know who they are, and I so appreciate them. So one of the people that's been in this community for years, they, them knows how to speak the language. They, them understands the communists and socialists. They, them is very advanced on this topic. They, them has been a secret member of a group affiliated with the Denver Communists for a long ass time. So for people who don't understand what I'm saying, I actually do have members of my community who join radical leftist groups just to go to their meetings and just to keep an eye on what's going on. And they're perpetually in a state of being undercover with these groups just to have a chance to report back and tell us what's going on. And so I sent a message to they, them, and I said, can you go to this meeting and record it for us? Because I don't think I can get away with this. And they, them, being the champion that they, them is, recorded the entire meeting. So this is a secretly recorded meeting by someone in the community who shall remain nameless, but they, them knows who they are. And I want everyone to give they, them a just gigantic round of W's in the chat. Secret undercover recording. Oh no. See, this is the problem, guys. This is the problem. This is the problem. This is the problem. You do great work, but you disrespect Christianity. You fucking cunt. I'm giving you a secretly recorded communist meeting and you're whining in my chat about Christianity. Literally permanently banned from the channel. Get the fuck out of here. Like, imagine being so fucking dense that I'm giving you a secretly recorded communist fucking meeting that no one else on the internet has a recording of, and you're whining and complaining about Christianity in my chat. You want the quickest ban hammer that you've ever seen in your fucking life? Do you know, Christians, I will never accept Jesus. I will never do it. I'm never becoming a Christian. It's never gonna fucking happen. You want to know why? Because you're so fucking annoying that you make the prospect of becoming a Christian just fucking repulsive on every single level. So no, go away. Cynthia, in with the W. 5 channel memberships. Thanks so much, Cynthia. You rock. Let's update that number to 17 channel memberships on the stream so far. That's awesome. That's awesome. So guys, today for the first stream, we are going to be watching the secretly recorded Denver Communist meeting last night. And I'm already told by they, them, that that there's some juicy tidbits in this meeting. And so I'm looking forward to that. But that's not all, guys. That is not all at all. Because later tonight, we're doing a spy stream. We are doing another spy stream around 6:45 p.m. tonight. What we're going to do is we're going to end this stream and we're going to go do another spy stream to watch more communists talk about abolishing ICE and the border. This is a double feature, folks. We got 2 spy streams back to back. One that was recorded last night, one that we're going to be watching live in about 2 hours and 15 minutes. Wait, no, not even. Hang on. Hour and 15 minutes or so. So because of that, we got to get right into the recording for the Denver Communists. Everyone, please make sure to mount the like button for me if you would be so kind. Everyone, please make sure you have subscribed to the channel if you have not already. And let's meet our channel membership goal, guys. We got a whole bunch of channel memberships to go to meet our goal for the day. Of course, you guys fund the work I'm doing. I can only do this if you guys make it possible. If we get 20 people to give 5 gifted channel memberships, we're already at the goal. And I think we can do way better than that. So let's get this party started. We are watching the Denver Communists in a meeting that we secretly recorded last night. Yup, Stacy loses again. I win again. Let's see what happened.
After evening, comrades.
Comrades.
Okay. My name's Tim. My pronouns are he, him. I'm just chairing tonight's session. I'd like to start by acknowledging that in Denver, we are on the unceded land of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, Ute, Lakota, Shoshone, and other indigenous peoples. The Denver Communists organized together on the basis of mutual commitment to revolutionary socialism, internationalism, class independence, abolition, and liberation from all oppression. Our politics are distinct from social democrats, anarchists, and other socialists, though we work with any of them toward common goals.
Our politics are distinct from social democrats. That means the DSA.
We're communists in the tradition of Marx, Engels, Lenin, Trotsky, and Luxemburg. The Denver Communists began as a branch of the International Socialist Organization and stayed together when it dissolved in 2019. In 2022, we founded a new organization called Firebrand, with members in Atlanta, Miami, New Orleans, Pittsburgh, Maryland, Kansas, Vermont, and Sydney, Australia.
Vermont? That's
we are
new.
Dedicated to the study and application of revolutionary socialist theory, history, strategy, and tactics. We think Marxist methods and arguments can illuminate every issue and fuel every fight back. We intervene in social movements and labor struggles in order to advance those fights and win our fellow fighters to revolutionary socialism. If you've attended a few of our meetings and are interested in getting better acquainted, we'd love to meet with you on the side. Please DM me with your contact info and a member of our coordinating committee will get in touch with you. And
Atlanta's new
tonight
team,
we
you're
have
right.
Maria presenting on ICE and the Trump regime, the war at home, and the...
Okay, so this is how the Denver Communist meetings work. Someone presents on a topic, they record the presentation, that's what gets uploaded to their YouTube channel, then they stop the recording and they have a discussion. They do not record the discussion, except we have it recorded now. So
war abroad. Let's see, we will be recording the presentation, not the discussion.
Aha.
But
we recorded it.
Looks like, yeah, we've got more than 20 present, so probably don't need to do intros. So let me just go over some more housekeeping here. To speak, we use the stack system here. So to speak, please type stack in the chat like so. For a question, type stack question.
So real.
And if you are from an oppressed group and would like to comment and would like your comment to be prioritized, please type stack plus. I will prompt you to wrap up when your comment approaches 3 minutes. Let's see, we have announcements.
No, this will not out the person who recorded it. In fact, they actually did do breakout rooms during this presentation. I have edited out the breakout rooms explicitly so that the Denver Communists will not be able to identify who was in what breakout room. So no, this will not out the person who recorded it.
Oh, thanks, Jim. Yeah, to be clear, the discussion after the talk. Okay, so for announcements, I think I'm just reading from our website here, right?
Hey, Tim, hold up on announcements
Jason!
till the end of the meeting. Sorry, the script kind of,
it's out
it's
of
not
order.
clear where it's supposed to break. But I
Gotcha.
think
Okay,
you just want to hand it over to Maria now.
Yo,
Okay, that sounds
W Peggy, thank you.
Sorry about that. First time jitters here, but smooth sailing. All right, Maria, go for it.
This meeting is being recorded.
Ooh.
I'm hella nervous too, so right there with you. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, and then also turn off my video. All right. Everyone can see and hear. Slay. All right, I'm Maria.
Why do they only record the presentation and not the discussion? Because they don't want their discussion to be public information. That's why. They want the recording preserved so they can use it for educational purposes. They do not want the discussion to be public because they don't want their members to be doxxed, essentially. W's in the chat for Cynthia with 10 gifted channel memberships. Really appreciate that, Cynthia. You rule.
She, her, Denver Communist, and Firebrand.
She, her.
Yeah, tonight we will be talking about ICE and everything that's going on besides. So the violent murders of Renee Good and Alex Preddy by ICE in January have sparked action against Trump and ICE on an unprecedented scale, with hundreds of thousands of people taking to the streets, participating in shutdowns and walkouts, and organizing their communities into ICE watch groups. These murders came on top of a ramping up of recent violence against immigrants through Trump's second term. If we're to believe the mainstream bourgeois media, what we're seeing with ICE right now is something that's uniquely evil, something that just started happening due to the Trump regime. We've started to hear Democrats use terms like Trump's ICE as they try to distance themselves from the agency that they're all too happy to fund, but feel might have gone a tiny bit too far.
Shitting on
However,
Democrats.
what's happening right now is both a continuation of decades of policy as well as an escalation of force. The murder of Renee Good happened 1 week after Trump's brazen illegal bombing of Venezuela and abduction of its president, Nicolas Maduro. Another popular line in the liberal media is that migration and displacement of humans are not our problem and stem from over there. However, these migrations from over there are our problem because they're inextricable from displacements caused by US wars, by us backing death squads in South and Central America, and the neoliberal war on drugs at home. The US border crisis is thus more accurately described as a crisis of displacement generated by US policies. It can seem overwhelming, like there's too much to focus on, and each issue and piece of human suffering is separate and should be tackled separately. However, it's extremely important to understand that the war abroad is the same as the war at home. There's one perpetrator and one cause, and it is capitalism and its highest form, imperialism.
Oh, capitalism is the greatest enemy? You don't say.
The border itself cannot be separated from the violence of policing, racism, and class exploitation. And in fact, the border is increasingly the reason why that violence is enacted today.
Oh, yeah?
So in this presentation, we will chart how we got here and then talk about what we're learning from the courageous and heroic efforts to fight ICE in Minnesota and what we can do here. The United States is responsible in some way for the conditions that create displacement and migration in the first place, globally, while accepting less than 1% of the world's displaced population and having the world's largest immigration incarceration system. In Border and Rule, which if you haven't read, you definitely should, but chapter 2 is relevant for tonight. Harsha Walia, the author, calls this border imperialism. She explains that imperialism is the root cause of displacement, making immigration a global internationalist issue that cannot be separated from global violence and is often backed by the United States and its allies. Trump did not create this entire structure. All of the infrastructure that goes into border enforcement predates him and is the result of decades of bipartisan policy that has built up over time as every administration has added more infrastructure into the system of detention and deportation. I'm going to start by doing a little bit of a deep dive of how we got here over the last few decades because it's very important that we understand the conditions that have brought us to this moment. At every step of the way, the war at home and the wars abroad worked hand in hand to simultaneously displace and detain humans around the world while expanding borders and therefore the violence required to enforce them. We went all the way back to Nixon. And just a few years before Nixon took office, the LBJ administration signed the 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act, which limited Mexican immigration after years of allowing Mexicans into the country for manual labor under the Bracero program. This was the first step in border control as we know it today. This change in policy essentially made all migration from Mexico illegal overnight, and Congress quickly established a court system specifically to prosecute, detain, and deport Mexican migrants. With Nixon in office, the number of Mexican migrants arrested for unlawful entry began to rise. Alongside that, his administration turned to increasingly harsh measures against cannabis use and away from earlier proposals to decriminalize or legalize the drug. These two policy choices of anti-drug and tough on crime converged in 1969 with Operation Intercept, led by a name that is familiar and hated to us all, Joe Arpaio. Operation Intercept only lasted a few months, but it effectively shut down all 30 legal border crossings on the US-Mexico border, and it increased surveillance of the border from both land and sea under the pretext of stopping entry of marijuana into the US. Another major part of this policy was individual inspection, which was mandated to last at least 3 minutes of every single vehicle crossing into the United States from Mexico. Under Operation Intercept, radars were installed along the border to detect unobserved border crossings for the first time, and the Navy was deployed to defend the maritime border. While this Operation Intercept itself was short-lived, only lasting one harvest season, it set the stage for the relationship we continue to see between border crackdowns and the drug war across Latin America, and it permanently increased the amount of surveillance along the land border. As a result of Nixon's border policies, the number of Mexicans arrested for unlawful entry between 1965 and 1986 jumped from 55,000 to 1.5 million, a 3,000% increase. President Reagan, of course, helped with these numbers with his escalation of the war on drugs at home and his dirty wars abroad. Under Reagan, the war on drugs that began under Nixon reached a fever pitch. His presidency saw a significant increase of federal focus on drug laws and prosecution. Alongside that, neoliberalism, or as he called it, Reaganomics, also really kicked off into high gear. Walia succinctly describes the main aspects of neoliberalism as deregulation of financial and trade markets, privatization of public assets and institutions, social service cuts, protection of private property and corporate profits. And
when they say neoliberal, they're talking about the Democrats, by the way. They believe the Democrats are neoliberals.
Ideology of individualism and competition, and enhanced enforcement to coerce labor while policing impoverishment. By implementing these kinds of policies, it creates a lot of instability and especially kind of gathers from the bottom to give to the top, as it were. So poverty and unemployment created through the neoliberal policies that were a part of the Reagan presidency, plus a racist media spectacle about an alleged crack epidemic and a culture of poverty in poor communities of color, led to an increasing of policing of those communities, which is something that's completely normalized now of where cops tend to be in what communities. Walia says, incarcerating the crisis of inequality by advancing the war on drugs as a primary method of neoliberal regulation has had shattering consequences. Drug offense convictions stemming from the war on drugs account for the largest increase in the federal prison population, with 7.3 million people in prisons or some form of correctional control by 2010, crowning the United States with the ignoble honor of having the world's largest incarceration rate. Abroad, Reagan was backing a lot of very violent counterinsurgencies across Central America, justifying them by playing up concerns of narco-trafficking, which of course links back to the war on drugs, and using anti-communist rhetoric. In Guatemala, Nicaragua, Honduras, and El Salvador, Reagan backed massacres, disappearances, and anti-communist death squads, leading to the death and displacement of countless humans. As he was doing this, he also passed the Immigration Reform and Control Act, which protected some immigrants, but did not address refugees at all, leaving them vulnerable at the border as they fled the violence and turmoil caused by US intervention in the region. In 1984, less than...
Guys, just so you know, the real interesting part of this is going to be the discussion. She might say some interesting things in the presentation, but we're watching this to set up the discussion.
3% of Guatemalan and Salvadoran refugees were accepted into the United States. So Reagan linked three things together to garner support for these interventions, and they probably sound pretty familiar to rhetoric that we're still hearing today. Defeat of leftist guerrillas and communism in Central America, stopping narco traffickers at the source, and preventing waves of refugees from flooding the US. In stressing these things, he was merging the politics of immigration, the war on drugs at home, and continued support for US imperialism abroad. The war on drugs still helps the US maintain control over Central and South America today, fueling displacement and horrific levels of violence and instability. Honduras and El Salvador still have some of the world's highest disappearance, homicide, and femicide rates. And in 2017, Honduras was the deadliest country in the world for land offenders. I was very excited to find pictures of them with t-shirts that straight up put their policy. Okay. In the 90s, the Clinton administration laid the ground for border militarization as we know it today by putting millions of dollars into securitizing the US-Mexico border. Several operations in states that bordered Mexico saw Border Patrol creating literal blockades of vehicles and people along certain urban stretches of the border to deter migrants from crossing. This represented a shift in ideology around policing immigration. While previous policies focused on finding and deporting immigrants who had already crossed the border, Clinton's initiatives instead focused on intercepting and preventing entries at the border. So yeah, literal blockades of people and cars.
Yeah, this is exactly right. People in the chat are talking about how it's interesting to hear the communist interpretation of history, and it is because their interpretation of history and their interpretation of current events, that's what dictates their behavior. That's what dictates how they see the world. And so when we're studying the left, guys, we don't watch the left to agree with them. We don't agree with them. But what we're doing is you have to think of it like they're animals in a cage at a zoo. And we are studying the animals, and we are not in the same space as the animals. We are studying the animals in the zoo through a glass wall where we can see them and we can observe their behaviors in their natural habitat. We are basically the Jane Goodall of socialists and communists. Yeah, I'm the Jane Goodall of communism.
This did lead to a decrease in urban border crossings, as many immigrants were forced to cross the border through remote deserts. Today, it's almost taken for granted that border crossings are often fatal as migrants try crossing through dangerous desert, uplands, and southern Texas brush. However, this type of crossing is a deliberate policy decision made by the Clinton administration under the theory of prevention through deterrence. The actual explicit hope that underlies this policy is that people will die crossing the border and their deaths will deter others from attempting it. According to Border and Rule, as a result of these blockades, border deaths from hypothermia, dehydration, drowning, and heat stroke increased by over 500%. Abroad, Clinton continued to build neoliberalism, especially the deregulation of markets, through the establishment of NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, which he signed in 1992. Free trade agreements use trade to establish and subordinate markets for the benefit of the ruling class interests. Wally says that through trade agreements, industries and services are privatized, capital flow and investment are deregulated, resources are commodified for export processing zones are expanded, and corporate property rights are protected. These agreements hollow out public social safety infrastructure and result in large-scale destruction of peasant, rural, and indigenous livelihoods. The day that NAFTA was signed, the Zapatistas in Mexico declared that it was, quote, a death sentence to the indigenous ethnicities of Mexico, a claim that was backed up by Congress's own commission, who had warned that the free trade agreement would create human suffering. Indeed, they were correct. Pre-NAFTA, indigenous peoples made up about 7% of immigration from Mexico, and a decade after NAFTA was signed, they constituted almost 30%. So as the Clinton war abroad met his war at home, he was using NAFTA to ensure the movement of capital and goods across borders, while simultaneously cracking down on the movement of humans across borders.
So again, they're shitting on Democrats, guys. These are communists. These are not Democrats.
It was prevention through deterrence policies, which he ramped up a lot by the end of his term, working with the Army Corps of Engineers to build more border fencing and tripling the size of the U.S. Border Patrol, which under him became the second largest enforcement agency. As you can imagine,
Oh,
post
yo!
9/11, both.
I apologize. Proud American on Rumble. I didn't see your gifted channel subscriptions. W's in the chat for Proud American. I think the Rumble audience already gave him W's. Proud American, I didn't get a notification for that. I'm so sorry I didn't give you W's at the time, but we'll add it to the total now, bro. Really appreciate you supporting the channel.
The war at home and the wars abroad took on a completely different character. Foreign alien and terrorist became interchangeable terms in media and in legislation, and immigration began to be classified as a war on terror situation. Under Bush, the immigrant detention system exploded as he expanded police powers and implemented indefinite incarceration of non-citizens, immigration crackdowns, Patriot Act investigations, no-fly lists, secret trials, torture, and counterterrorism surveillance programs. In 2002, he created ICE under the Homeland Security Act, and it absorbed the prior functions of the Immigration and Naturalization Service and the Customs Service. By the next year, ICE was part of the brand new Department of Homeland Security, which had a budget of $9.1 billion. DHS merged 22 different enforcement agencies into one and explicitly positioned immigration as a national security issue for the first time. They were granted sweeping powers to waive dozens of laws that were impeding border wall construction, and they were quickly given billions of dollars to start building walls and fences. The global war on terror allowed the US to openly merge domestic and foreign threats under the umbrella of Muslims, a broad, diverse category of people living in all regions of the world. This wasn't done in a clandestine way either. Bush basically peddled the war on terror by saying, quote, "We are aggressively pursuing the agents of terror around the world, and we are aggressively strengthening our protections here at home, coupling the military-industrial complex with the security state." Walia sums up this era by saying, "The never-ending war on terror, more accurately described as a war of terror, seamlessly integrated domestic immigration policy into overseas military operation. Private contractors making a killing through war contracts were also given billions of dollars to build the virtual wall and catch, quote, immigrant terrorists with their promises of infallible high-tech drone surveillance and infrared technology." She also points out that unmanned drones were first tested on the US-Mexico border before being used to bomb countries overseas during the global war on terror. Moving on to Biden / Obama, and I'm lumping them together because Biden just really wanted to continue what Obama did. So we'll do the deporter in chief here.
Wait, so they're calling Obama the deporter in chief? I'm sorry, did I just hallucinate that? Because I'm told by conservatives all the time that the left never calls Obama out on anything, and the left loves Obama, and the left never talked about Obama's deportations. Did I just hear a group of communists talk about how Obama is the deporter in chief? Just saying.
He earned that nickname, deporter in chief, due to the sheer amount of deportations and increase in the detention infrastructure that he oversaw. He increased ICE's funding to $8 billion by the end of his term. You'll remember when ICE was created, it was $9 billion for 22 different agencies that included ICE. So in a short term, they got all that money for themselves. In 2014, Obama laid the groundwork for separating and punishing migrant families, which has become the norm today. Under the direction of his ICE Executive Associate Director of Enforcement and Removal Operations, Tom Homan.
Hey, hang on a sec. Do you think they'll actually manage to abolish DHS in the next few years? Let's be really clear. If DHS gets abolished in the next few years, Trump did that. I'm going to say that again. If DHS or ICE or any of these other agencies get abolished in the next few years, that won't be the left doing that. That will be Trump doing that.
The Obama regime began separating children from their caregivers under the pretense that it would be an effective way to discourage illegal border crossings, which followed in the Clinton administration's footsteps of prevention through deterrence. Homan is now a name we all know well, having been appointed Trump's border czar. In the year 2014, though, a surge of almost 70,000 unaccompanied minors, predominantly from countries that you may remember from our section on Reagan, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, were apprehended at the border and placed in a newly built detention center. Well, a few newly built detention centers, but one in particular that I think we all recognize from the news. The South Texas Family Residential Center opened in 2014 and is one of the largest family detainment centers in the country. If that sounds familiar, that's where 5-year-old Liam Ramos and his father were held after being detained in Minnesota by ICE agents. While Liam was being held there, many detainees staged a protest, that's what this picture is, against their detainments and conditions in the concentration camp, which at that time included a measles outbreak. Literally just yesterday, or maybe 2 days ago now, ProPublica also published a report on the children currently being held at the Dilley concentration camp, which included video and letters from children detailing the rotten food, poor water quality, no medical treatment, and intimidation by guards. The report found that the youngest child currently being held in the camp is only 2 months old. Detainment of Central American people at the Mexican-American borders increased over 100% from late 2015 to early 2016 compared to the year before, and at least 8,000 people were deported.
One in the chat if this is a W picture, 2 in the chat if you find this picture to be offensive. Pepper spray is used by Texas troopers to disperse protesters outside a South Texas residential detention center. 1 in the chat if this is a W picture, 2 in the chat if this is just going too far.
Without court hearings. When Obama awarded Homan with the Presidential Rank Award as a distinguished executive, these titles are so long, in 2015, the Washington Post wrote, quote, "Thomas Homan deports people, and he's really good at it." Obama also expanded the war on terror abroad. While we all know the devastation that this war caused to the Middle East in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Iraq, it was also used by Bush to establish the U.S. Africa Command Center, or AFRICOM, by insisting that there was a terrorist sleeper cell in the Sahel region of Africa. AFRICOM really became Obama's baby, though, and was hugely expanded during his term. It's now the most active U.S. military command based on just number of combat operations. There are missions in 50 African countries employing almost 8,000 personnel. These are preemptive and permanent interventions which contribute to the colossal crisis of 21 million displaced people through Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, and Syria alone. So under Nobel Peace Prize winner Obama, the US dropped 26,171 bombs, an average of 3 bombs per every hour, mostly through airstrikes and drone warfare on, you guessed it, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Yemen, Somalia, and Pakistan. These countries will come into play in our next section. So now to this man, Trump. Trump has merged the wars at home and the wars abroad in a way that we haven't really seen throughout this historical journey. Before setting foot into the White House, he was basically gifted a border arsenal unprecedented in US history. This includes almost 700 miles of walls and barriers, approximately 60,000 Customs and Border Patrol agents, and at the time that Walia gave these stats, 20,000 ICE agents, but probably a little bit more by now. And enforcement systems that included some of the most sophisticated technology on the market. During Trump's first term, under what was known as the Muslim ban, he suspended entry into the US for citizens of Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. You'll recognize that these were all countries that Obama had already bombed or imposed sanctions on. The ban, therefore, was specifically targeting those who were attempting to flee the devastation and destruction of US imperialist intervention. On top of this, Trump has inherited ICE, now one of the largest enforcement agencies in the country, whose budget outpaces many militaries across the world. Abroad, Trump's brazen attacks on Venezuela and kidnapping of their president follows the long tradition I previously laid out. False pretenses about violent drug smuggling gangs at home are used to advance imperialism abroad. One of the main stories that Trump ran on in 2024 was the, quote, violent invasion of Aurora, Colorado by the Venezuelan gang Tren de Agua. That's what TDA stands for here at the bottom. Trump and his regime have sought to portray the gang as the embodiment of the, quote, criminal immigrant trope that has been built up by both Democrats and Republicans over the years. You'll, of course, remember, while he was campaigning on this Kamala Harris was in turn campaigning on being even tougher than him at the border and promising to ensure that America always has the strongest, most lethal fighting force in the world. As Trump entered office for the second time, he immediately began an aggressive crackdown on immigration, which sent hundreds of Venezuelan migrants to the US naval base in Guantanamo Bay, which Obama promised to close and didn't. I improvised that line, but it's true. 9 days into his second term, Trump also signed the Laken Riley Act into law, which requires the detention without bond of non-citizens who are arrested for or suspected of certain crimes. And they're all very low-level crimes like shoplifting. As of December 2025, almost 18,000 non-citizens had been detained and or turned over to ICE for detention and processing under just this act alone. So this brings us to our current moment we got here. While it's clear that we're here thanks to decades of bipartisan work, we can't deny that Trump has turned up the volume and escalated the violence, operating in a way that can only be described as mask off. Under Operation Metro Surge, which began in December of 2025, he has sent thousands of Border Patrol and ICE agents into Minneapolis, Minnesota, and then later the rest of the state, which has the largest population of Somali Americans in the country. Most of them are American citizens. The stated intent of this operation per Trump is to deport people of Somali descent who he describes as, quote, garbage. Of course, we see what's actually happening every time we pick up our phones. ICE agents are running wild through the state, threatening, intimidating, beating, and killing citizens and non-citizens alike. I went on Wikipedia just to get like an outline of what has happened since this operation started, and it's literally just pages and pages of like a bullet point list of the daily violence that ICE agents are enacting on the community. Here's just some headlines that I'm sure we all have heard about ICE agents being horrifically violent, stalking and following protesters, harassing high school students, scanning data, like scanning your face for their databases, eating at Mexican restaurants and coming back later to arrest the staff. I had to put Jake Lang, neo-Nazi, getting kicked out for a little levity.
Jake Lang mentioned.
But yes, and then of course, the deaths of Renee Good and Alex Petty. This assault on Minnesota has openly shown that borders are not just a line on the map. It has proven that the border can follow you anywhere and can reach anywhere. Even once you've crossed a border, you might not be safe, and your status is always shifting as definitions on who is a migrant and what group is currently under attack are constantly changing.
Guys to the left, and this is just for new people to make sure you understand what we're watching, the borders are representative of capitalism. The borders enforce capitalism. To the left, capitalism means private property ownership. You cannot have private property without a border. That is why ICE, the anti-ICE activism, is so important to the left, because the borders literally represent capitalism to them.
Alongside this, the masses are waking up to the way that border imperialism has always operated, with violence and terrors that have historically been enacted against marginalized people now happening to Midwestern white US citizens in broad daylight. To quote the latest Firebrand article, which is called Resisting the Authoritarian Turn at the End of Empire, and is very awesome and everyone should go read it, quote, we see the highest offices of the land justifying, brazenly lying about, and aggressively defending state violence against innocent civilians. Scenes associated with imperialist war overseas, from Afghanistan to Palestine, are now witnessed on the streets of the US. Occupying forces strut around with automatic and chemical weapons, harassing, beating, and abducting immigrants and citizens alike with impunity, while adding activist faces to a high-tech database of domestic terrorists. People are making connections between what is happening now and the institution of policing and border regimes in general, as well as the entire blood-soaked history of the US. So is anyone coming to save us? No.
No.
It's true that a bipartisan effort has brought us to this moment, and it is also true that Trump has unleashed new and more brazen terrors. As we have seen, Democrats turn the heat up a little by little when they're in power. Republicans turn it up a lot, and it never goes back down.
So again, they're shitting on the Democrats. They're saying the Democrats are not going to save them. Hey, thanks, Little Miss, for the super chat. Sorry I couldn't donate my support earlier. I'm still at work, but I found a minute, so I could. I am here and listening, though. Much respect. Much respect to you, Little Miss. I really do appreciate it. Guys, I just want to remind you, we have a channel membership goal to meet. We're either going to meet it on this stream or we're going to meet it on the next stream. The earlier we meet the channel membership goal and bring 100 new people into the channel, the happier I'm going to be. The less I'm probably going to yell at you. Although some of you enjoy me yelling at you. Yes, to them, Jake, Lang, and Obama are the same. Correct. Well done.
We see this happening all around us in real time. Democrats, even in this moment, are shying away from the very tame demand of abolish ICE.
Very
hemming and
tame
hawing
demand.
instead over if ICE has just gone a little too far under the evil orange man. After the murder of Good, Mayor Jacob Frey was celebrated for telling ICE to get the fuck out of Minneapolis. Only 2 weeks later,
There's a question coming in on Rumble, and I want to answer it. Borders being as small as a fence or even a dwelling. Yes, exactly. Hey, W's in the chat for Surrey. 5 gifted channel memberships. That rocks. Yeah, guys, when I say borders, I mean borders around the country, borders around the state, borders around your town, borders around your house. So all borders are reinforcement mechanisms of capitalism. So what's the rationale for community laundry and community kitchen? The rationale is community laundry and community kitchen is about the collective coming together as the collective. Yo, we got Cynthia with a big W in the chat. Thanks so much, Cynthia, for 5 gifted channel memberships. Really appreciate it. So the collective is not the same as your private house. They want to get rid of private kitchens. They want to get rid of private laundry. They want the laundry to be done in the public domain and like laundromats and stuff, like community laundromats. They want the kitchen to become the community kitchen or the community canteen. So you no longer have the privatized individual household. You become a part of the collective. So that's the rationale there. I appreciate the question. Thanks, Malcolm, so much. When you're yelling, that means we're learning. Well, I hope so, Malcolm. I really hope so.
Though, he spoke with Trump and said he appreciated their conversation and would continue to cooperate with state and federal law enforcement.
Guys, I don't usually do this. I'm just going to speed up the playback of this just slightly because we do have a time constraint because we do have to get to Spy Stream later, but just a little bit. We're not going to turn it up a lot.
Zohran Mamdani, the mayor of New York City and a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, has often used abolish ICE to run on, and including after he's been in office. However, on the other hand, he's oversaw the arrests of dozens of activists occupying a Hilton hotel in Manhattan, protesting ICE staying there. It's clear that we can't turn to the Democratic Party or its operatives to do anything meaningful to stop ICE. At the end of January, Democrats limply threatened to shut down the government if they didn't get some reforms passed, such as expanded use of body cameras and a ban on agents wearing masks. These measures are obviously completely insufficient. As we have seen, ICE is not an abnormality, as the Democrats would like to have us believe. It is a logical end result of decades of border imperialism. This is not an issue of just training them to be.
Border imperialism means capitalism. Lenin said that imperialism is the highest form of capitalism.
More humane. After all, the agents who murdered Good and Preddy were both veterans with years of experience, and one of them was even a trainer. There's a reason LeBron is on this slide. You'll get it.
Yeah, they just called the DSA.
It's clear that just unmasking agents or arresting and prosecuting the killers of Good and Preddy won't slow down or stop the system I've described here. ICE must be abolished. Well, this was once a far left demand. 80% of Democratic voters now support it, and even among Republicans, support for abolishment of the agency is surging. The establishment wants us to think that the abolition of ICE is radical.
Oh, Republicans are coming to the aid of Democrats and communists yet again. Imagine my shock that Republicans would be on the side of the fucking communist.
But ICE is one of the newest government agencies around. LeBron James began playing in the NBA the same year that ICE was founded. So this is how old ICE is. Abolishing it should be done really quickly if anyone cared. However, we can't just stop at abolishing ICE. As we've seen, ICE is just a symptom of a larger problem. The police and prisons must also be abolished, alongside with borders and the capitalist state in general.
Oh, so you're telling me this is not just about abolishing ICE. This is about abolishing the police, the prison industrial complex, borders, and the capitalist state in general. This is what I've been trying to tell you guys. When they're doing this anti-ICE activism, this is not about immigration. All the conservatives on Twitter that are like, we got all these illegals out of Minnesota, Tom Homan won. You idiots, this isn't about immigration. The left doesn't fucking care about immigration. The anti-ICE activities, the anti-ICE organizing is about abolishing capitalism and overthrowing the government. That has always been what it's about. The borders are about capitalism. ICE is about capitalism. The police are the protectors of capitalism. DHS, CPB are the protectors of capitalism. It's all, and this all goes back to the US government because the left believes the Constitution is a capitalist document written to protect capitalism. You cannot overthrow capitalism without overthrowing the government. Does everyone understand? We're going to listen to this again. But when I tell you they're talking about overthrowing the government, this is not about immigration. Anyone who thinks that the left is just going to calm down now that ICE is being pulled out of Minneapolis, those people are fucking retarded and they don't actually listen to what the left says. The left is telling you flat out, this is not just about ICE. This is about abolishing the police. This is about abolishing prisons. This is about abolishing all borders. This is about abolishing the capitalist state. When they say the capitalist state, they mean the United States government. That is what we're talking about here. Listen again.
LeBron James began playing in the NBA the same year that ICE was founded. So this is how old ICE is. Abolishing it could be done really quickly if anyone cared. However, we can't just stop at abolishing ICE. As we've seen, ICE is just a symptom of a larger problem. The police and prisons must also be abolished, alongside with borders and the capitalist state in general. The resistance to ICE that's being built in Minneapolis shows us where we can go from here. The organic, spontaneous, and decentralized yet highly organized nature of the resistance has been a huge factor in its success. It's important to note that the Democrats and their affiliated NGOs, who kind of control the No Kings and 5150 and Indivisible groups, have very little to do with the Minneapolis resistance. It's been completely bottom up.
The No Kings and the 5051 groups have very little to do with the actual resistance in Minneapolis. This is what I've been telling you guys. No Kings is a progressive group. Indivisible is a progressive group. 5051 is a progressive group. The communists are telling you the real resistance is the far left. We're not dicking around with the No Kings people. We are doing the resistance. Listen again.
Important to note that the Democrats and their affiliated NGOs, who kind of control the No Kings and 5150 and Indivisible groups, have very little to do with the Minneapolis resistance.
Oh,
it's
yeah?
been completely bottom up. Left Voice has been doing excellent reporting from on the ground in the Twin Cities. They describe ICE Watch volunteers in yellow vests at every corner, businesses with signs in the window denying entry to federal agents, pickets outside of Target, which has been allowing ICE agents to abduct their workers, and groups forming to demand eviction moratoriums in hopes that people will be safer in their homes. The fight has also grown across the country. Millions of people have taken action against ICE in hundreds of cities and towns. The protests that went along with the nationwide calls for strikes, walkouts, and shutdowns saw anti-ICE action across the country, with people in Baltimore surrounding their ICE field office to directly confront the feds, protesters occupying the lobbies of hotels where ICE agents are staying, and people in LA blockading the entrance to their ICE building. Alongside that, hundreds of thousands of people have been learning how to monitor ICE agents, joining signal chats, and stepping.
Guys, the left doesn't care about Islam. Only conservatives are obsessed with Islam. The left doesn't give a flying fuck about Islam. That's a conservative talking point.
Up to organize their communities.
She just said hundreds of thousands of people in those signal groups. Listen.
Directly confront the feds, protesters occupying the lobbies of hotels where ICE agents are staying, and people in LA blockading the entrance to their ICE building. Alongside that, hundreds of thousands of people have been learning how to monitor ICE agents, joining signal chats, and stepping up to organize their communities. To quote Left Voice, the people of Minneapolis have not simply resisted ICE's presence in their city. They have taken measures to actively expel it and organize.
Okay, this is a good question. When someone says Antifa, which group are we talking about? Okay, here's what I need you to do. I need you to go to decodetheleft.com/map. I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to put this in the chat. On decodetheleft.com/map, if my website wants to load today, you will find a literal mapping the modern left document. There are 5 tiers on the far left that I've separated these out into. Democrats, liberals, progressives, democratic socialists, and revolutionary socialists. Democrats, liberals, and progressives want to uphold capitalism. They want to maintain the capitalist system. Democratic socialists want to achieve a post-capitalist state through elections. That's like Zohar Mamdani and the DSA. Revolutionary socialists and communists want to violently overthrow the U.S. government. Now, not all revolutionary socialists and communists are Antifa. Antifa is a very specific segment within the revolutionary socialist left that engages in specific tactics like black bloc and using umbrellas and breaking shit and setting things on fire and stuff like that. The Denver communists are also revolutionary socialists, and there may be some members of the Democratic Communists that are also in Antifa, but by and large, the Denver communists, I wouldn't say that they are intrinsically Antifa because it's more about a philosophical thing for them. But I don't think they're opposed to violence. I think they understand that they need to engage in violence to do what they want to do at some point. But they're not going out in black bloc for the most part. There may be onesie and twosies that are. So Antifa is a small subset of the revolutionary socialist left that is extremely dangerous and extremely violent. And there's more information on the website. I do hope that helps you out. Good question, though.
Organize themselves in new ways to protect their communities. In the weeks since Good's murder, the working class and sectors of the middle class in the Twin Cities have taken the Trump administration head on, uniting their interests and fighting in their schools and communities.
Hang on, we got a super chat. Thank you, average person. I feel and hope the left would keep you around just for this extensive knowledge and archive of their ideology. That's true. I have the biggest leftist archive on the internet. That's actually true. The left should really, the left should be more grateful for what I'm doing. I'm recording all their meetings. I'm archiving it. I'm teaching people what they think. I'm giving them a much bigger audience than they would have on their own. The left should really be more grateful to me than they are. And I feel like they're very disrespectful.
ICE's campaign of terror against immigrants continues, including arrests, detentions, and abuses inside immigration facilities. But so too do daily patrols, grocery runs, and community organizing of thousands of people. Minneapolis's neighborhoods and communities.
Hang on, we got a super chat from Dragon Tail. Thank you. The left is not a monolith. What conservatives view as the enemy is not near as dystopian and anarchist and anti-liberal and tentacled as they can imagine. That's so true. And this is why I try to hammer into conservatives that this is not about Democrats, liberals, and progressives. It's actually much worse. It's much worse than you can ever possibly imagine, conservatives. If you're new here and you think you understand the left and you think that Democrats, liberals, and progressives are communists, oh, no, honey. No. I will show you an insane world of dystopia that you have not even begun to dream about. Thank you so much for being a member of the channel for 2 months. Another free membership. Love you, Dr. K. I wish we were giving out some more free memberships. We need another 52 to go to hit our goal. I do appreciate everyone that's given out a channel membership so far. You guys rule. Let's get 10 more people to step up and gift out 5 channel memberships, shall we? It's not that hard, guys. I appreciate it.
Are not content with less violence. They want ICE out for good. They want dignity and safety for their immigrant neighbors and an end to the militarization of their streets. All right, in conclusion, adapted from previously mentioned Firebrand article because it was so good. This is where we need to have Marxism. A mass movement needs political education. We need to reject leadership of liberals, reformists, and their associated NGOs, and understand that workers are the true power of society. And when we move, nothing can stop us. The workers who organized and participated in the shutdowns at the end of January are proof of a growing feeling amongst the working class in the United States that our positions as workers is a powerful place from which to organize, to unite, plan, and fight back by withholding our labor, rather than giving into the cycle of demoralization that comes from days of protest that result in nothing but empty promises from politicians. The revolutionary left needs to do everything we can to support the anti-ICE movement in Minneapolis as well as nationwide. We need to help to encourage and deepen the radical conclusion.
Hey, we got a super chat. Bomb Pop, thanks for the gift membership. Cynthia, thanks for everything, Dr. K. Thank you, Bomb Pop. I appreciate the super chat.
Conclusions that people are coming to and direct those that are interested towards revolutionary socialist horizons. We need to build the militants of the movement, amplifying the voices of young liberals who are rejecting peaceful protest and legalism. We also need to connect the struggles at home with those around the world and explain why everything was.
Hey, WCU over on Rumble is asking how they would actually get stuff done in their society. That is a great question. I don't have time to explain it today. I have talked about it before. Essentially, if you don't work, you don't eat. It is basically the gist of it. If you don't work in the communist utopia, you don't get access to food. Money does not exist. Thank you, Cynthia. W's to Cynthia. They get rid of all money, so there's no way to buy food. You have to have ration cards, and the only way you get ration cards is by working. So that's the long and the short of it. I'm happy to talk about that another day. I just don't have time to do it right now.
Happening all at once, which I attempted to do here. We also need to demonstrate our solidarity and physically take part in the movement to the best of our abilities by joining ICE watches and protests. We need to do everything we can to help stop the reign of terror, as well as politically intervene in the movement. We need to do this out in the open and not succumb to fear and despair. When they come for the left, we can't say we're not the left. When they characterize support for the overthrow of the United States government and extremism on migration, race, and gender as domestic terrorism, we cannot make a U-turn and disavow our politics.
Oh, did they literally just admit that they support the overthrow of the United States government? Did that literally just happen? Does anyone else show you this content on the internet? Thanks for being a member of the channel for 1 month, my guy. Appreciate it. They literally just said they want to overthrow the government and they're not going to disavow that politics. Let's listen to that again. Thank you, communists, for this gift you're giving us today.
We're not the left. When they characterize support for the overthrow of the United States government and extremism on migration, race, and gender as domestic terrorism, we cannot make a U-turn and disavow our politics.
Oh, yeah?
When they criminalize dissent, we need to respond with more dissent. When they're murdering ICE watchers, we need to join up with ICE Watch. Rather than retreating in the face of ICE's reign of terror on their city and the shocking street murders of their neighbors, the people of Minneapolis have inspired.
Hey, thank you so much for the super chat. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, so I'm not going to mess it up. I owe you just for this website, damn. So basically, we have to engage with a leftist and get them talking in order to figure out where they fit on this map and who we're dealing with. Yes, more or less, but over time, this becomes a lot easier. When you learn how to speak the language, it's so quick. Like, I know within a minute, basically, if I'm talking to a leftist, they have a very specific cadence that they use. I also know based on what groups they're a part of, the more you learn about this, the easier it's going to be. It becomes almost instinctual after a while where you're like, Democrat, progressive, communists, like you can pick them out in a crowd. Sometimes you can do it just based on how they're dressed, but not in the way that conservatives think. It's not about piercings and tattoos and stuff. It's about other things.
The world with their courage. We must organize as revolutionaries in that same spirit to abolish ICE and the systems that created it. No one is coming to save us, but we can come together, organize, fight, and save each other.
Abolish ICE and the systems that created it. That means the United States government. Let's just listen to that whole part again. Just for funsies.
We're not the left. When they characterize support for the overthrow of the United States government and extremism on migration, race, and gender as domestic terrorism, we cannot make a U-turn and disavow our politics. When they criminalize dissent, we need to respond with more dissent. When they're murdering ICE watchers, we need to join up with ICE Watch. Rather than retreating in the face of ICE's reign of terror on their city and the shocking street murders of their neighbors, the people of Minneapolis have inspired the world with their courage. We must organize as revolutionaries in that same spirit to abolish ICE and the systems that created it. No one is coming to save us, but we can come together, organize, fight, and save each other. The end.
The end.
The recording has stopped.
Oh, beautiful words.
All right, Maria, nice job. That was a great presentation. And
yeah,
couldn't be more timely, right? Yeah, that was really good. Wow. Let's see. I think we already determined no intros since we have we have an in-person one anyway, so that's kind of different too. So I don't think we do the intros. Are we gonna do the breakout rooms? Looks like yes. Okay. Does someone want to speak on how we're going to be doing those?
Okay.
Yeah, I can give.
We're fast forwarding over the breakout rooms because we edited that out.
Like so.
Again, guys, we edited out the breakout rooms to protect the person who recorded the presentation because he, they, them, she, they, whatever, is embedded with them like all the time.
If you have a question, do stack minus or stack question mark. Sorry about that. And if you're from a press group or would you like your comment to be prioritized, do stack plus. And I will prompt you to wrap up when your comment approaches 3 minutes. I can't get the timer app working on my device, so I'm going to do it to the old-fashioned way on my cell phone here. But got 3 minutes. So whoever wants to speak, just feel free, type stack, and I will get my dog. Don't know if you guys can hear that, but dog's barking away. Good. Anybody in person?
Start sharing. Takes a second for them to warm up sometimes.
Just and Jim, so had yeah. Okay, sorry about that. I missed that. Go ahead, DC.
Ooh, This guy's crazy.
In person.
Oh, maybe not
yeah.
that one.
I guess it's me. So really great presentation, Maria, and just like a really good reading that goes over like every way that the US has just fucking pillaged the world to make it their own. And I think it was really interesting, like reading about the policy specifically against Mexican immigrants. And I was wondering how much of that was shaped by the Chicana movement and like in general, this reaction to like the radicalization of like the 60s and 70s and like trying to regain control both in Latin America and over that entire region, but over the entire world really, and trying to assert the US's dominance and really gain control again of the crisis. And I feel like it gives us a lot of lessons for how we should approach the quote unquote immigration crisis today, and like what our responsibility is as communists and how we should be fighting for open borders. So
open borders.
All right. Who do we have next? Ken?
Yeah, great presentation, Maria. It was excellent. I'm Ken, he, him, Firebrand Denver at-large member based in Pittsburgh. I think you covered essentially everything on, the very recent history of this entity in and of itself, and just the modernization of border policing. But I kind of touched on this a little bit in my breakout as well, that the history of anti-immigrant racism is also foundational to the founding of the United States. So this is essentially, as I said in the breakout group, these anti-immigrant policies and these mobilizations and this violence is almost, as they say, as American as apple pie. And I say that because a lot of people look at, the escalation of this under Trump and say it's, especially more the liberal leaning and reformists on the left saying this is unique. This is something that is totally new. And while it is unique in terms of the ratcheting up of authoritarianism, there is a history to Americanism and its idea. And I'm not talking about the Pan-Americanism that Bad Bunny referred to in the Super Bowl halftime show. I'm talking about Americanism in the United States and how it perceives itself. And if we go back to even 1798, when President John Adams signed the Alien and Sedition Acts, some of the provisions in that included increasing citizenship residency from 5 to 14 years. It allowed presidential deportation of quote unquote dangerous aliens, and it criminalized false or malicious speech against the government. Much of what we see to this day, much of what we saw with the Patriot Act. And so with this sort of monstrosity that is the United States and the American ruling class, the only way to put an end to this escalation of violence and authoritarianism is to overthrow it as a whole. It has to be gone and overthrown through revolutionary struggle. You can't reform it. You can't make it softer or better, quote unquote. This is what America is. This is what the United States is. And it's our task as people who live under the boot of American authoritarianism to overthrow it.
I knew he was going to say something insane because I have this guy on video like 3 other times talking about overthrowing the government. This is not the first time I've heard this person specifically advocate for this. So again, are we all clear that they want to overthrow the government? Are we clear that this is not just about abolishing ICE or getting immigration or getting ICE to like leave Minneapolis? This is about overthrowing the government. They cannot be more clear here, guys.
Excellent points, Ken. Let's see, we got Ian next on stack, and then Roddy.
Sure. Yeah, great presentation, and I thought the whole history of these attacks going back to Nixon was great to have. I mean, it's definitely a lot of people know of. And as it pertains to Minneapolis specifically, the thing that seems most interesting to me from a few thousand miles away is if there is in fact a lot of self-organization occurring on the ground. That's huge. That's a real step forward. And it's and I think anything that gets more people involved in discussing and trying to put the politics into the real world are spaces that the left can intervene and win people over to communism. Anyway, that's not an unusual thing. I mean, the Bolsheviks, it's not like they came up with the Soviets. That came out of the Russian masses. And
No. We do not allow this type of retardation on my channel. They spent half of their presentation shit-talking the Democrats. These are not Democrats, retard. These are communists. Two different things.
Saw it, and after plenty of discussion and years of it, of a process saying, oh, this is the way we're going to organize a revolution. And I think you see that in a very small way in what's going on in Minneapolis. And it's unfortunate, though, that labor, the larger labor movement hasn't really thrown its weight behind some of the stuff. And a lot of good reasons. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why the union bureaucracy wouldn't do that. But there's a hope that these tens of thousands of Minnesotans and people out throughout the country who participated in these actions would be able to take that to their locals and try to push forward. Because unfortunately, there are many sectors in the unions that fall for certain economists. Oh, if immigrants just raise the supply of labor, so wages will drop, all that kind of nonsense. Whereas there really ought to be a left in these unions saying, any division in working class between documented and undocumented undercuts everyone. Not to mention, historically, if you think of the U.S. labor movement, it's generally it's been immigrants that have led it, either Irish and Italian or Eastern European in 10s and 20s, or even further back. The U.S. Civil War, a large part of its most important characters were German immigrants from the revolutions of '48. That's a very American apple pie, as the immigrant worker leads the U.S. labor movement, either 100 years ago, 150 years ago, or today. So it'd be nice to see labor getting more involved, and I think there's a good chance of that occurring if they don't fall into, getting the Democrats the House and whatnot in, I guess, a few months from now, 6 months from now, or whatever. So that's it.
All right, thank you. Let's see, next we got Roddy and then Jim. And then we have an open stack, so feel free to get on the stack if you have questions or want to make comments or anything really. Go ahead, Roddy.
Yeah, I just mentioned this during the breakout room, but so like I studied political science and economics through 2006, 2010, and ICE was a huge discussion, mostly because it had formed in the wake of the post 9/11 world, and there was a sense, both among my professors and among students, that ICE was inevitably going to become like a Gestapo just because of its formation as a body to fight the war on terror at home, essentially, and how the perspective on the war of terror was like any means necessary were viable, and so that helps shape ICE's tactics and culture. So that's what I got. Thanks.
All right, Jim.
Hey, I think one of the most valuable things about Maria's talk is that the way it shows. Well, I mentioned in the breakout room that it's valuable the way it showed that. We don't really have a categorical change with what's happening right now, because this has been built over decades by presidents, including Democrats. But also, at the same time, it shows how recent the modern conception of borders really is. I mean, Maria spoke about it, basically dating back to the 60s, like the late 60s.
Borders only go back to the 60s.
And I think it's so important to always remember that this idea we have of borders is not only false. I mean, everyone can anyone with any humanity should be able to realize why invisible lines on the ground are illogical, and then further to realize that they're inherently violent, right? But
yeah, me too, bro. Me too.
It just realizing the acceleration of this concept of borders.
Hey, thanks so much, Jan. Congrats, Dr. K, on your Dr. Drew potential conversation. You truly deserve it. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good chat, and I'm really excited he reached out. 50715 on Rumble. Thanks for the Rumble rant. Getting is that this whole deal is kind of a swap meet. The libs, dems, and progressives has boost set up that people are browsing, are responding to. No. Again, liberals, Democrats, and progressives have literally nothing to do with what we're watching right now. They are not related at all in any way. You'll get there, bro. Don't worry about it. Just keep watching and learning. I appreciate the super chat.
Every now and then it goes viral. An excerpt from a debate in 1980 between Reagan and Bush when they were opposing each other for the Republican nomination. And they're talking about Mexican immigrants. And both of them talk quite kindly. Both of them go out of their way to valorize Mexican immigrants and try to position themselves as having a humane immigration policy. I imagine the policy was a lot harsher than what they were trying to pretend. And of course, Reagan and Bush both did horrendous things in office, including to immigrants. But the point being that the political atmosphere allowed for them to to try to position themselves as being kind, to immigrants and kind at the border. And you compare that to not only Trump, obviously, but like even Harris trying to position herself to the right of Trump and trying to position herself as someone who was basically making fun of Trump for not being harsh enough. And I don't want to go against the points made by Ken about how this goes back to even the founding of the U.S. Yes, the U.S. has always oppressed immigrants, but I mean, it's just worth noting that, for example, the reason Ellis Island occupies such a place in the sort of like the American myth is that they basically just let them in. I mean, I'm not saying, of course, like they were oppressed in various ways, like the Italians and Irish immigrants.
Hey, listen, white boy for Harris. Listen, white boy for Harris. We are talking about communism today. It's not all about you, okay? Sometimes you don't have to be the center of attention.
Eastern European immigrants were oppressed once they got here. I know that citizenship, wasn't easy or whatever, but the point being that all of this apparatus wasn't in place then, and that's why they were allowed to arrive and make their way here, and that's why it became such a myth, and it's just so interesting how the current border apparatus just totally contradicts that American myth. So it's just interesting to note like how recent all this is and how easily we could dispose of it if we had the political will.
And I should note that Jim wrote that article on
communists do not support China. They believe China's capitalist.
The Firebrand, right? I mean, on our website. Were you the sole author for that, Jim, or was there multiple?
Oh, Jason and I worked on it together. James and I worked on it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes, I do,
comrades.
actually.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
It looks like we still have an open stack.
Okay, let's fast forward a little bit. Get the next person talking. Who's this?
Alexa, order. Oh.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I'm in person, and the echo was really bad. My name is Alexa. I use she, her, they pronouns. I'm located in Denver with the Denver Communists. I'm mostly just trying to hop on Stack, but there's one thought that continues to just exist in my brain during this conversation and during the presentation. And I've brought it up before, but it's just this clip I saw of Nancy Pelosi, and I think it was speaking at a climate summit. It might have been COP or something like that. But she was talking about immigration being a national security issue. And, of course, like we know that because of, all of the language around drugs and criminals. And we understand that there is that analysis of it. But I think there was something so stark and striking about just that line. She said that, I think before I was like fully radicalized. I was trying to look up where exactly she said that. And that was kind of her message for the 75 years that she's been involved in electoral politics. But just, yeah, I mean, when I think about national security, when we think about it, national security really equates to imperialism and violence and domination. And, someone in our
national security is imperialism. That means capitalism, guys. National security is capitalism. That's what I need you to hear.
In-person room, was mentioning what Maria said about imperialism really being the cause and the driver of migration.
Adam fighting with Harrison?
Whether that's because of the exploitation of natural resources, because of violence, all of these things have their roots in imperialism. And I think just the absolute insanity and how deranged it is to then turn it on its side and talk about the crisis of migration and how that's a risk to us as Americans.
Thank you.
It's just something really deeply disturbing that just sticks with me. And to have heard that as a younger person who at that time would have identified.
No. You can do a lot of things on this channel, Amalek. You will not besmirch Harrison Smith, okay? Harrison Smith is a gentleman. He is a scholar. We are Harrison Smith respecters on this channel. I let you get away with a lot. You will not besmirch one of the only fucking people that has actually done a good interview with me ever in the history of the internet. I'm talking about basic decency and courtesy here, Amalek. Don't ruin it.
Identified as liberal. There was something so disturbing about that I just couldn't really put to the side, and it still sits with me today.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I think. Nothing terribly profound, but yeah.
Great, thank you. Next we have Ken and then James.
James can go before me.
Okay.
Maria, comrade, brilliant, just brilliant slideshow. No one does it better. Just the visuals, the humor, making it interesting, making us want to read along and listen. I can't believe you found the shirts the Just Say No and the Fight
Jason.
Communism and put them together. Just genius. Let's see. I don't know. There's so much to talk about. Walia talks about borders and police as well, being about the production of race.
Borders
The
produce
production
race.
and the policing of race.
Capitalism
And
produces
I think
race.
that's in other words, the creation of race. Like
thanks,
that
Cynthia.
borders and police create race itself. And I think that
The borders and the police create race itself. The borders are a representation of capitalism. He's saying capitalism creates race. Race is not about skin color, guys. Race is about systemic racism, the system that upholds racism, which is capitalism. That's what we're talking about. Yo, thanks, James. Daily fascist support. Based on the communists we observe, here are their beliefs. There isn't a true communist society today because they all have borders, or am I off? Yeah, true. The only true communist society is a global society. This is not to be confused with the WEF. The WEF are fundamentally distinct from these people. But yeah, communism can't exist until all borders are abolished. True.
important as a way of understanding like the cruelty and the necessity for it beyond objective like labor needs. But it is also the repression of immigrants is about repressing wages more much more broadly. It's an attack on the working class.
Bing.
One of the let's see, Frank brought up security culture in the Ice Watch signal chats, already kind of destroying some of them. And I wanted to mention in a meeting that we'll maybe report on more fully later, that someone who spoke at an ICE training meeting that we went to just said, hey, look to your left, look to your right. One of you is probably a cop. And it was really bizarre, like to just try to induce suspicion in the whole ass crowd, which, there's a...
My goal is that these people always believe I'm recording them because it makes them so paranoid, and this is the only way to get them to fight with each other is to make them believe that the other people around them are cops.
Way of saying
we are always watching, Jason. Always, perpetually.
it like there might be a cop here, and if so, fuck you. We've said that at rallies, but to the, I don't know, just the anyway, we've talked about how this is kind of like a self-congratulatory mechanism for activists to like talk about how dangerous activism is, and it's true that
yep,
we do and will continue, and it looks like increasingly face repression. But we have to fucking expose ourselves to that possibility to do what we need to do. And I like we quoted this Egyptian journalist who said,
wrap it up, comrade.
Who said just that we can't beat the state at the surveillance game. We have, and that is going to expose us. That did expose us, but it was, unnecessary. All right.
Okay, guys, I'm so sorry. We are going to have to cut it short. We do have a couple more commenters to go, but we can watch them after we do our next spy stream. Okay, so we got this pause. We can come back to it, but we have to go change streams. I have to shut this stream down. We're going to start a new stream. Rumble, I'm going to start a new stream over on Rumble too. I just can't give you the link until after I shut the current stream down. So just pay attention to the channel. Guys, we're about to go watch a live socialist presentation that's going to start in about 20 minutes. So what I'm going to do is we're going to shut this stream down. We're going to open a new stream and we're going to watch Socialist Live. I put the link in the chat. It will be on the YouTube channel. We will be continuing to try to meet our channel membership goal for the day. And we just got 10 closer. W's to James. Last minute 10 gifted channel memberships. Massive W, bro. Massive W. We are now within striking range of the overall channel membership goal. And that's awesome. Guys, I will see you on the other side. And come and watch some live socialism with us. See
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.